Hello and welcome to part 7 for the Tetris tutorial and UE4. So in this video we're going to go ahead and make the child blocks, all 7 of the other child blocks that will be used in the game. We're just going to go ahead and set up the default settings and everything, and we'll go ahead and set up so we can spawn them in the game, and so we'll go ahead and do that. So first of all, let's go ahead and make a folder called child blocks. So go ahead and open it, and we'll go to, you can go to this and click create child blueprint class, but then I'll have to drag it in here multiple times. So I'm just going to go in here and do a blueprint class, and then I'll just go ahead and search for it. I can probably just type in base and it should come up. Block base, there it is. So select it, and the first one we're going to work on is going to be called the I block. So there we go, we have the I block. So let's go ahead and open it up. So actually something I forgot really quickly to make this a little bit easier is let's go into the block base. Let's open the viewport and go ahead and set it to the right and unlit so we can see what we're doing. And now I'm going to just make a text that says A, B, C, D, just to make it a little easier to see it. And there is something that when we add them, one of the blocks, I'll tell you which one it is, but you have to put that, I believe, perfectly in the center, and then you're gonna have to put all the other blocks around it. And the reason for that is so when we rotate it, because we're gonna rotate everything around one block. So let's go ahead and add a component and look for text. Text render should come up, so we'll just name it text A. And we'll drag it. I'm going to turn snapping to 16. So I'll put it exactly in the center. And the reason why you can't see it is because we need to take it and rotate it 90 degrees. And I'll go ahead and set this back to the right. And let's take this and center it and center it. Text center. And let's set the location on the Y, I believe. We'll set it to be 1, and let's change this to be A because that's what it is. And now we can just duplicate this, and I'll just name it text B, and then I'll drag it over here, and then I'll change the text to say B, to letter B. So I'll go ahead and finish up everything so you don't have to watch me do it. Okay, so after that's completed, we can go ahead and play the game, and you might see that it doesn't show up here. That's because you have to open up this material. So double click this on the materials, element 0, and take this and plug it into emissive color. So from vertex color to emissive color, so that way it'll be rendered when there's no lighting. Okay, so after you've done that, I was going to change the material to be unlit so you can see it in game, but we actually don't need to see it. This is basically what we're going to do, how we're going to have it, but we do need to parent this. So parent A to A and C and B to B and D to D, like that. So that way when we move the block, the letter will move with it. And we're going to need to see these letters. But again, you might not have to do it because I'm going to tell you all the default values and everything, but it's just there to help me and to possibly help you. So let's go ahead and go back to the block, and we'll go to the viewport. And like I said, this is the I block. I don't know if I said L block earlier in the recording, but I block. So when doing this one, this is actually pretty easy to set up. So we're literally just going to make the I, but we're going to do an order from A, B, C, and D. So the B needs to be in the center in order for it to rotate properly. So we'll go ahead and put that in the center. Then I'll bring A back over, and then we can set C to be the proper location. Then D. And now all we need to do is change the sprite. So let's go ahead and go to the sprite, and you can change the sprite to be whatever you want, but I'm going to go with the color for the L block. So we have that taken care of. Now we need to go into, we need to change the centerpiece to be B, because that's what everything is going to rotate around. And again, you need to center the whichever piece is going to rotate, have it in at a 0, 0 on the coordinates locally. Then the location offset needs to be -32, 0, and then 32. And then we need to go to block data. So we need to go to all of the piece, so A, B, C, and D, and go to the point for set the row and column. But there's kind of a lot to do, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the description, and you can just go ahead and enter all that. So in the tutorial, I'm probably just going to skip over it, but because there's a lot to do, it'd be like really tedious and annoying if I just went ahead and read everything out. So I'll put it in the description. Go ahead and set it, and I should go walk you through the next couple blocks. Okay, so I went ahead and filled everything out. Here are all the values that you need to set everything to in order for it to work. So go ahead and hit compile and save. And now I'm going to go ahead and close out block base because we don't need it. And let's go ahead and just so that way it looks nicer, I'm going to go ahead and do a capture thumbnail. The letters kind of look bad, but I'm just going to ignore that for now. So the next piece we want to work on is the J piece. So we'll go ahead and do the same thing again. We'll search for it, block base, and we'll name it L block BP. We'll go ahead and set the camera to be correct. The D, we're going to go ahead and move everything off to the side, but remember, we're literally building the shape with these pieces. At least that's how I programmed it. But the C needs to go directly in the center, and then D will go here to the left, and then B will go here, and A as well will go up here. So you have the L block. Now we need to go ahead and remember to set the default values. So the rotating piece, remember, it's in the center, so it's C. And then the color is blue. Or again, set it to whatever color you want. Now the spawn offset, X is 0. Pretty much Y is always going to be 0, so I'm probably never going to mention Y, so just leave it at 0. But Z needs to be 32. And I'm going to go ahead and set the piece values, and I will be right back. Okay, so this is what everything should look like when you're done. Go ahead and compile and save, or exit that. So we'll go ahead and drag this in as well, and we'll take a screenshot of it, or a thumbnail capture. That's a little bit to the side. I can probably fix it. That's a little bit better. Let me go ahead and delete these. We'll go ahead and add the other class. Search for base, or it'll be whatever you've called it. I've called it block base, so if you named it something different, you'll have to search for that. But go ahead and click on it. And then this is the L block, so I'm pretty much doing them in order. It looks like I actually made a mistake. This isn't the L block, it's actually the J block. And it unfortunately clears out the thumbnail, so I'll have to redo that. But it was actually, this one was actually the L block, my mistake. So we'll do the same thing we've done on everything else. We will change the sprite. And the location offset is -32 and 32. And let me go ahead and set the point values. And the centerpiece is C. And again, we're pretty much setting it up exactly the same way as the J block. So yours should look like this. So I'll have all the values and everything. Well, again, we'll go ahead and compile and save. And we'll go ahead and add the next one. And this one is called the N block. Now this one is a bit trickier to set up. Now the B is what rotates, So we'll put it here, and I'm going to move C and D out of the way. And like I said, B is the block that rotates, so we need to put that directly in the center. Then the A block goes here, and the C block will go right up here, and the D block right there. And let's change the you have to go to, by the way, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but you have to go to class defaults and then select the sprite, because if you do it with one of the block or sprites selected, you'll get this, and then if you try and change it, nothing happens. So make sure you're going to class defaults. So let's change the centerpiece, or the rotating piece, or no, centerpiece, to B. And the spawn offset is just Z, 32 on the Z axis, and that's it. So this is what everything should look like after everything's set up. So we'll go ahead and compile and save, and we'll start on the next block. So the next block is the O block. So go ahead and add that. Now this one is really hard to do. There's a lot of things we need to change, so I need you to be prepared for that. So we'll go in here, and like I said, there is a lot we need to change on this one. So you need to click on locked and change the sprite to yellow, and that's it. That was a lot we had to change. And the centerpiece doesn't matter because it's not going to rotate anyway. That's why we check locked. Now for the next one is the T piece. So we need to select A and push it over one, the piece, not the letter. And then B goes over here. And we can select C, B. We can select all of these and just move them all at once over. And the rotating piece, actually, I almost messed this up, but we need to bring everything up by one, so that way the piece that rotates is in the center. So back to class defaults, select C. The Z is 32 and X is 0. And the color, or the sprite, is the T-piece sprite. And this is what everything should look like when you're done. So compile and save, and we will work on the final block. So we'll add another base block child. Remember, this one is the Z block, so the last block. And so we once again need B to be in the center because that's what everything's going to rotate around. Then we'll bring A down, and then we'll get C to be right there, and then D is right there. Now let's go ahead and set the sprite, which is the red one, and the spawn offset is -32, 0, and 32. And the rotating piece, or centerpiece, I keep saying rotating piece because that's what it is in my other project. That's what the variable is named, so forgive me if I say that wrong. But okay, let me go ahead and set the row and column values. Okay, so when you're finished, this is what everything should look like. So once again, compile and save. And I'm going to go ahead and add all these into the scene again and screenshot it, or not screenshot, take a thumbnail. You don't have to do it, but I think it looks nicer, and it helps you if you need to find one of them and open them. It just makes it easy, at least for me. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so after you've done that, let me go ahead and delete that from the scene. So now let's go into the game in Tetris Player and look for add block, and we have this here. So we hard coded it basically, and we need to change this. Let's change this to be a variable. Let's go ahead and click promote to variable, and we'll just call it blocks. We need to change it. I guess created it as an actor, we need to search for block base and set the variable class, or set the variable class reference, and then change variable. Refresh it and then go ahead and plug self back in. Now that we have that, okay, so we also need to change this into an array. So change variable type again. Okay, my the editor just crashed on me, so I apologize if I'm repeating a lot of stuff. But let's go ahead and add a variable, and we're going to call it block list. Let's change it to an array, and then we're going to search for block base and a class reference. So go ahead and compile that. We'll drag it in, and we'll look for a git copy, and then we'll plug that in. And we hit compile. Now we don't have anything in this array yet, but we can go ahead and populate it. So there's 7 blocks. Remember, we have all these, so we have to search for all these. So the I block, J block, L block. So go ahead and add all of the blocks into the array. And then the very last one, for now, I'm going to just leave it as block base in case we need to debug a couple things. But now we have this index. And so for right now, if you want to spawn a certain block, you have to add in this index, or you have to set the index. So I want to spawn in the I block. So I'll leave the index at 0, press play, and it should spawn in. There it is. So I can press down, left, right. Collision is working and everything. This might, I might have entered a, set a value wrong in here. So let me just double check. Okay, so once you add everything to the list, I would strongly recommend you go ahead and you set the index for each one and test it, and make sure you put the correct values in, because if you, for example, if you put one value wrong, so if I set this to like 4, and I press play, and so I press down, the whole thing will be broken. You can see it went through the blocks. You have to basically double check and make sure all of these values are correct. And when I was recording, I accidentally put in a few wrong values. You definitely want to go to the description and add those values. And like I said, make sure they're all correct. If you're having problems, don't panic, because it's pretty crazy. But if one value is off, the whole thing can just be completely broken. I had that problem when I was recording it, and I had to pause the video and go and fix everything. And one more thing on the Z block, you need to select everything and just push it up by 1, and then compile and save. And like I said, you want to go ahead and double check everything and make sure all the values are correct. And then you want to test every block, spawn it in and try it out and make sure it's working, because like I said, and I'll say it again, that if one value is wrong, the whole entire thing is broken. It's really sensitive. So you can do that and have fun. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. But before I end the video, I would like to mention I have a Patreon. And if you'd like to help support me, you can go there to support me. I would like to say I am a little behind on some of the pledges, like the tutorial for a couple advanced things for this video. The reason, and as well as the videos coming out so slow, like once a month, that's because it is extremely difficult for me to do any recording, because it's like the dead of summer and it is extremely hot where I live. So it's really hard. Even at night, I can't even record because it's too hot. I either have to have like a fan pointed at me or an AC, and those are really loud, so it's really hard to record. So these videos, I'm gonna try and record them real late at night when it's cool, and then edit them the next day, so that way I can get the videos done quicker. Same thing with the Patreon. That I do apologize for anyone who's following me on Patreon and waiting for some of those videos. I will get to them. You just need to give me some more time. Again, I apologize. That goes for if you're going to support me on Patreon, which if you're not going to right now, that's fine because I am being slow, so I can't blame you. But